Tonight, boys and girls, you're going to be reading about Jamestown in your Social Studies Alive book on pages 75 and 76. I want you to use selective highlighting to help you look for important information in these pages, because tomorrow when you come to class, you're going to be making a timeline that organizes the important information that you read about. So when we start looking at page 75, we're going to use the text features that we've been talking about. First of all, we see that this subtitle says this is about Jamestown Colony. We're going to look at the picture, and it has a caption. So this is obviously, I'm going to make an assumption that when they talk about Jamestown Colony, they're going to talk about building. They're going to talk about the things that they brought over from one of the 3 ships. They're going to talk about the different types of work. And then if I look at the caption here, it says, to survive, everyone in Jamestown had to work, even those who were used to having servants. Finally, I'm just going to take a quick peek at the vocabulary. The word marsh is a wet, low-lying land that's poorly drained. Now I'm ready to get started reading. Because this project is about making a timeline, we're going to pay specific attention when we read to dates and people and important events. We don't want to just color everything with our highlighting. We just want to kind of focus it like a spotlight. So when I look at the first paragraph, I read, in 1606, so that's an important date, England's King James gave permission to a huge group of wealthy men to start a colony in North America. So start a colony. The group sent 105 men to settle in Virginia. They hoped the colony would make them richer. In May 1607, so there's another date, they arrived in Virginia. So all I'm going to do is highlight those important words. Most hoped to find gold. They chose a place near the river. The deep water allowed them to anchor their ships close by. The site was upriver from Chesapeake Bay. It was far enough from the river that Spanish ships could not easily attack the settlement. So I might come back then, and far enough from river, Spanish ships, not attack settlement. Located on a peninsula, that's important because we've been talking about landforms. The town would be easy to defend by land. The group built a settlement enclosed by the walls of a fort. In honor of King James, they named their new home Jamestown. Unfortunately, that's kind of a trigger word right there. The settlers built Jamestown on a marsh. The water around the town was dirty and salty, so there's a problem. The land was not good for farming, and mosquitoes carried a deadly disease, malaria. Here's another date. By the end of 1607, disease and other hardships killed many of the settlers. In late 1607, some American Indians captured a Jamestown settler named Captain John Smith. They took Smith to their chief, Powhatan. According to the story Smith told, the chief was about to kill him. But that's really a Disney story, we know. Powhatan's young daughter Pocahontas saved his life. Many historians, however, think that Smith's life was never in real danger. Okay, so now I'm going to go and look at, once again, I've got the word choice. Or vocabulary, colonist, a person who settles a colony. This is actually a picture of Pocahontas, who traveled to England with her husband, so this is much later. And then I've got this other term right here, democratic, relating to a form of government in which people have the power to rule themselves, often through elected representatives. So if I read this first, it's going to help me to understand the text as I'm reading through it. After this incident, Pocahontas visited Jamestown several times. She and her people brought food to trade to the few surviving colonists. Here's another date. In January 1608, more men arrived from England. Many had come only to seek gold, so there were not enough people growing the food they needed to feed the colony. In September, John Smith became the leader of the colony. He knew that a settlement needed everyone's help to survive. He said that any man who would not work to maintain Jamestown would not eat. Smith's leadership helped save the colony. In the summer of 1609, a new group of settlers arrived, including women and children. The next month, Smith returned, so there's another date, to England after having been badly burned by an explosion of gunpowder. The colonists had lost a strong leader. To make matters worse, Powhatan stopped trading with them. Local tribes attacked the people they found outside the settlement. The winter of 1609 to 1610 was known as the starving time. Many settlers had to eat horses and dogs. Hundreds of people died. Only about 60 settlers survived in Jamestown. The Jamestown settlers never found gold. Therefore, they needed another way to support their colony. Colonist John Rolfe, here's a new person, learned how to grow a new kind of tobacco. The settlers planted this cash crop. In 1614, they began to trade their tobacco for money and supplies. There's another date. People in England loved it. Tobacco became Virginia's gold. I want you to be able to tell me tomorrow why you think they called it that. Meanwhile, Powhatan's people worried about so many settlers coming to their land. In 1614, John Rolfe married Pocahontas. For a time, the colonists and the American Indians were at peace. Pocahontas even went to England and met King James. Before she could return home, she became ill, and in 1617, she died. Meanwhile, Jamestown was growing and changing. In 1619, the men elected representatives to make laws for the colony. This was the first representative government in America, in an American colony. They called this governing body the House of Burgesses. Burgess is an English word for an elective representative. Only wealthy men could have this job. Even so, Virginia had a more democratic government than England. And going back here, it means the people had the power to rule themselves through elected representatives. When Powhatan died, his brother became chief, and the peace between American Indians and the settlers ended. In 1622, the new chief and his men attacked Jamestown and killed 347 colonists. But Jamestown survived to become the first successful English colony in North America. So if you look at my highlighting, there's not a whole lot that's highlighted, but when I come back, I've got, I know that I can look at, there's January 1608, and all I have to do is read right next to it, more men arrived from England. In September, John Smith became leader of the colony. So I don't have to underline a whole lot, just enough to kind of spotlight what I've read. So now I want you to go get your text. I've already read through it once with you. So I want you to go through and read it again on your own and highlight what you think are going to be the important events that you will put into your timeline when you come to class tomorrow. See you then. Bye-bye.